I'm just continually humbled by this community, by the heart and faith of those here. And as Unitarian Universalists, we covenant together to affirm and promote our 8 principles, prominently displayed here in the sanctuary. With our principles as you use, we also honor something else. Does anyone know? We have principles and we have... Oh, glorious. Yes, we have sources. And how many are there? There are, oh, someone was... I love you, Ginny. We honor our 6 sources. Direct experience of transcending mystery and wonder, words and deeds of prophetic people, wisdom from the world's religions, teachings from Judaism, Christianity, humanist and earth-centered traditions. And this morning, we're going to lean into our second source, the words and deeds of prophetic people, and the rest of that source states, which challenge us to confront powers and structures of evil with justice, compassion, and the transforming power of love. That's right. Oh, can I get an amen? Amen. Y'all are amazing. Let us receive from the prolific and prophetic science fiction and Afrofuturist writer, Octavia Butler. From an NPR story on her, Octavia Butler used to say she remembers exactly when she decided to become a science fiction writer. She was 9 years old and saw a 1954 B movie called Devil Girl from Mars. 2 things struck Octavia. First, geez, I can write a better story than that. And second, somebody got paid for writing that story. If they could, Octavia decided, then she could too. Praise be. Eventually, she did exactly that. Octavia Estelle Butler became one of the world's premier science fiction writers, the first Black female science fiction writer to reach national prominence, and the only writer in her genre to receive a prestigious MacArthur Fellowship. When she died too soon in 2006, she was lauded as a pioneer, an icon, and one of America's best writers, prophetic words indeed. You may be familiar with one of her more famous books called Kindred, which has a connection here in Maryland. Kindred, one of the books most famously associated with Butler, was published in 1979. It's a story of Dana, a contemporary Black writer hurtled backwards in time to antebellum Maryland. Has anyone read it? The educators have read it. A spirited feminist, and Adrian, of course. Thanks, Adrian. And Marie and Jenny. A spirited feminist, Dana must learn to conform herself to the times so she can survive. She needs to find her slave-holding ancestor to ensure her own existence more than 150 years in the future. Butler often said she was inspired to write it when she heard young Black people minimize the severity of slavery and strongly assert what that way they would or what they would have not have tolerated if they had been enslaved. She wanted them to not only know the facts of slavery, but how slavery felt. She wanted to make those militant young people see that even surviving such an institution made their ancestors heroic. One of Butler's repeated themes was just that: surviving is heroic. Butler's writing was deeply researched and expansively impactful. She wanted people to feel something, to think differently, and imagine a new world. From another one of her pieces, Parable of the Sower. Embrace diversity, unite, or be divided, robbed, ruled, killed by those you see as prey. Embrace diversity, or be destroyed. She also wrote, all that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. Octavia once said that every story I write adds to me a little, changes me a little, forces me to re-examine an attitude or a belief, causes me to research and learn, helps me to understand people and grow. In re-examining an attitude or belief, Butler picked at those assumptions of our time, that exploitative capitalism and colonialism, patriarchy and heteronormativity, earth decline and decay are all unquestioned norms. She picked at the so deeply entrenched in that, how could we all possibly change it? What can we do? Only led to doubt and despair, so Octavia Butler imagined. And she wrote and changed minds and the futures of many young writers and community leaders. It was ideas like hers that led other prophetic writers and authors and leaders like Adrienne Maree Brown to assert, most science fiction answers three fundamental questions: what if only, and if this goes on. Social justice work answers the same questions as we dream together of a world in which we feel our miraculous lives matter. Our freedom is non-negotiable, and we live lives that are satisfying and interdependent. Adrienne Maree Brown also proclaims that all organizing, social movement organizing, community partnerships, justice movements, all organizing is social justice, and all organizing is science fiction. All organizing is science fiction. Let's think about that for a moment. Science fiction imagines a world that is possible and not yet realized. Organizing together is under the banner of proclaiming what could be: a world without poverty, homelessness, inequality, prisons, police brutality, borders, oppression, and war. And that's just the short list of horrible, ordinary things, as Octavia Butler called them. May we be maladjusted to ordinary, horrible things. I think it's time to talk about how people of faith and conscience are, in a way, all really doing the work of science fiction. You feel me? How people of faith are really doing the work of science fiction in imagining what is possible. Somehow, to me, that's comforting. To know that we as people of faith and conscience truly embracing ideas that are subversive, that undermine and question and challenge the status quo, and proclaims, people, we can do better than this. That is subversive optimism. We can bind up the wounds of our kin. We can feed those who are hungry. We can house those without a home. We can free the incarcerated and disrupt the schools to prisons pipeline. We can move in solidarity with refugees and asylum seekers. We can free ourselves from internalized oppressions and declare peace in our homes and our hearts. We can practice courageous love. It is possible to make real in our lifetimes, in our communities, the good we know in our hearts, and that is subversive optimism. Again, I feel like that's comforting somehow, to know that the world that we seek is the world that we are building towards together. Together, here, because we embrace what is possible here, now. Even when Jesus came to the people, he proclaimed that the kingdom, or more inclusively stated, the kingdom of God is within you, is amongst us. It is what our Universalist forebears taught, that heaven on earth is possible through our acts, our love, and our service here, now. All organizing is science fiction. Reminds me of something I heard Shirley Grisham say once, just a little bit before I was born. In 1972, Shirley Grisham asked why she, a black woman, was running for president. And she responded, they told her, you don't have a chance. Why are you doing that? Why would you run for president? And she said, because I am in love with the America that does not yet exist. And now, we have seen a black president and a woman VP, when Shirley knew that it was possible and started the journey ahead. My beloveds, we are in love with a community, a country, a world that does not yet exist, but could. And we are the ones that we've been waiting for to make it happen. There's even a song that we sing with that line, we are the ones we've been waiting for. With that liberating message to know that what we do now, here, what we do today is the change that we seek. Because collectively we are dreaming of what is possible and willing to follow that path of transformation. We are the ones we've been waiting for. All that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. And I'll close with a story. Imagine a world where parents stretched super thin. I heard a groan. Amen to that. Parents stretched super thin with life and work and parenting in a pandemic can come to a place with their children and are fed by elders in the community so they are free to just arrive. There's a table waiting for them with pizza and cupcakes, rainbow cupcakes, veggies and fruit. Imagine that these parents and children are brought together so they can do justice work by creating postcards to our legislative leaders to rally for an important bill. Imagine that kind of mutual care and generosity. Well, I'll tell you, that's exactly what happened here yesterday. 30 people, 30 families, children, gathered here today and were fed by unseen hands with a waiting table. That's the kind of world that we seek. The kind of world that we know is possible because we experience the glimmers and the glimpses of beloved community all the time, if we are willing to be a part of it. So I dare you this day to proclaim a subversive optimism, to dream into the existence the world that is part of it, and to the world that is possible, and to be a part of it, of what can be. So with that in mind, I invite you to rise in body or spirit and sing our closing hymn, We'll Build a Land. Do you feel it? Hymn number 121. And if you're online, please keep your microphones muted as we sing together, We'll Build a Land.